Hello and welcome back to Underlab. Today's episode is all about everyone's favourite skeleton, Papyrus. Well, unless your favourite skeleton is Sans, Gaster, or potentially someone completely different. Just why exactly is he so popular? Now, I'm sure you've got your own reasons for liking him if you do, but I'm going to try and work out what it is that appeals to so many different people. He's been rated the most popular character in Undertale by several polls, even beating out Sans. There has to be a reason for it, right? Or maybe he just bribed everyone with half-cooked spaghetti. Well, let's find out. Before we even meet Papyrus, Sans tells us a little about him, giving us something to expect. When he says that his brother is a human hunting fanatic, he wasn't kidding. We only realise to what extent though when Papyrus actually appears. Though Sans constantly mentions the lamp we're hiding behind, Papyrus never actually thinks to check it. This immediately gives us some idea of the relationship between the two characters. Sans is legitimately trying to help his brother out, but he also seems to be aware that Papyrus is far too self-absorbed to actually listen to what he's saying. He knows he's not putting us in any real danger by telling him where we are. It's the extreme contrast between both these characters that gets us to like them rather quickly. Though it's tempting to call Sans the straight man, the truth is he's just a bit more calm in comparison to his brother. He's still pretty crazy, especially with his various pranks. Still, that doesn't compare to the outrageous behaviour of the younger skeleton of the two. I imagine without Sans, most people would find Papyrus somewhat annoying, and if it was vice versa, people would probably think that Sans is a little bit boring. It's because both characters are seen together so often that we get a much better idea for their personalities. Compare this to Undyne in Waterfall. Though she's still a much loved character, there's no denying that at first, it's hard to say that she isn't a little one-dimensional. All we know for the vast majority of the area is that she's chasing us and that we should probably run away. It's only at the end of the zone when we confront her that we learn what she's really about, and even then we're only given her motive for hating us. Compare that to the treatment that Sans and Papyrus receive. We see many facets to their personalities, with Sans quickly making himself out to be a very relaxed sort of guy, while Papyrus is the complete opposite. A great example of this is Sans' word search. While Papyrus puts so much effort into his elaborate traps, all Sans bothers to try and stump us with is the junior jumble word search. It becomes pretty apparent that Sans couldn't care less about capturing us, while Papyrus works relentlessly to make up for his lazy brother. We're also shown that Papyrus doesn't just care about capturing us. We realise he has a passion for cooking when he leaves us food. We also realise that despite his passion, he's extremely incompetent, such as when he gets zapped by his own invisible maze. So he's a goofball, but he tries extremely hard despite getting nowhere. It's hard not to empathise with him, even though we're the one he's trying to capture. It also helps that anyone who's watched He-Man will immediately recognise that he's awfully similar to a certain Skeletor. It's clear that Papyrus is silly, cheesy, and not to be taken seriously, and that's why his more serious moments come as a surprise. For example, when we fight him, he gradually realises that he has no desire to capture us and would much rather be our friend. Things get far more emotional though on the genocide path, where Papyrus insists that he believes we can redeem ourselves. Papyrus has an almost childlike innocence to him which no one can really fault, as he really does just want what's best for everyone. In a way, he's very similar to what we strive to be on the pacifist run. We have very little reason to treat the monsters with mercy at first, but it leads to a better and happier ending if we can forgive them for attacking us. Papyrus himself seems to realise that it's only by cooperating with the human that he'll get what he wants. We also have no reason to question his motives. He's very open about how he feels, unlike Sans. While we know that Papyrus really does want to be our friend, Sans isn't as easy to interpret. For example, at Metaton Resort, he gives us the chilling knowledge that he would have killed us if it wasn't for Toriel's intervention. Therefore, it's really hard to think of Sans as a trusting and reliable friend. Papyrus, meanwhile, is someone you'd never expect to lie to you, as he's so open that he'll even admit to your face that he's trying to capture you. It helps that he's so honest to his feelings that should we lose to him 3 times, he'll let us pass without fighting him. That's proof that he's committed to what he believes in, and that he's entirely earnest with himself. So much so that he'll even go on a date with us, which is one of the funniest scenes in the game. What makes it even funnier is that Papyrus is the one who ends up finding it to be too awkward, and so he has to cancel cancel the date early. Who would have expected that? Not only is it really funny, but once again it's proof of the skeleton's honesty. Speaking of funny, Papyrus is responsible for many of the most hilarious moments within Undertale. For example, when he ditches your meeting with Undyne, and all the bizarre and wacky things he says. Being the source of so much humour is probably a huge reason for his popularity. But there's even more to it than that. If we let him be, Papyrus is our most stalwart companion throughout the game. Unlike some characters, he doesn't just appear once and never again. He's present for many events within the game, and we can even get his phone number to talk to him on a regular basis. Even though we go through Undertale alone, it's good to know we always have our buddy back in Snowdin ready to back us up. Still, his incompetence can be quite stunning. At the very end of the game, it's Papyrus who's fooled by Flowey into enacting his master plan. This is proof of how naive and gullible Papyrus is, but rather than making us hate him, we can only really pity him. We know for a fact that he was only trying to do what he thought was right, and the idea that he could be manipulated probably isn't even something he's aware of. In many ways, Papyrus is a fool with a big heart. Well, he doesn't exactly have a heart per se, but you get what I mean. This is an archetypal character that appears in many forms of media. Obviously, Papyrus has distinct elements to him, but he has similarities as well. It's very hard to not empathise with a character barely aware of when they're doing something wrong, but are also committed to doing the right thing. We're much more inclined to blame those who use him, such as Flowey, as Papyrus is never truly responsible for anything he's tempted into doing. After all, we know the truth. He just wants to make friends, to be popular, and especially to join the Royal Guard. So, how do all of these elements combine to make Papyrus the most popular character in Undertale? Well, he's a funny character who's always trying to do the right thing, but failing in catastrophic fashion. When he's not making us laugh, we find ourselves empathising with him, and it's potentially Papyrus who helps us to understand the monster's plight better than anyone else. He proves that most monsters are just a bit quirky and misunderstood, rather than the terrifying creatures humanity once believed they were. The fact that he's willing to lay down his weapons because he realises that you're not what the legends made you out to be, proves that he's a good deal smarter than your average monster or human. It's the subtle intelligence to Papyrus's character that may appeal to us the most. He's the most like Frisk on the side of the monsters. He's able to reason and see things from our point of view, and decides that he doesn't want to fight based on that fact. Of course, it's not just that. How he's always making us laugh is undeniably a huge part of it, if not the biggest factor. He's always optimistic and always cheery, pretty much the opposite of his brother Sans. In his presence, it seems like the monsters have a chance at a happy life on the surface. That could very well be why Papyrus becomes the ambassador to humanity if we say no. Someone as friendly as him will at least be able to prove that the monsters have peaceful intentions. His ability to relate with others and understand them proves he may very well have a knack for diplomacy. So there you have it. Papyrus is one of the most developed and well-rounded characters in Undertale. He's our friend, our enemy, a spaghetti extraordinaire, and a comically bad villain. It's quite likely because he has so much going on that people enjoy the character so much. He's clearly played for comic relief, but he's a serious sort of character as well, who consistently shows the more benevolent side to monster kind. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to finish my spaghetti. Now this promotion Papyrus pays for with his cooking is over. I hope this gave you some insight into why a character like Papyrus works so well for so many people. It's easy to laugh at his antics and to not take him seriously, so that's why he surprises us with the very few dramatic things he does. Either way you look at it, whether a comedian or an instrumental character with an Undertale story, Papyrus is easy to love. He's bursting with personality and all sorts of bizarre traits rarely seen in your average RPG character. It helps that everything he does is taken to an extreme that then contrasts with his brother Sans. As they say, opposites attract, and those two are the very embodiment of that statement. Is Papyrus your favourite character? If so, why? As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Try not to die eating poorly cooked spaghetti, and I'll see you next time. Before I go, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to my patrons, my head scientists Asgorn Shi, Cameron Vigil, Kay Jensen, Sophronius and Mary, and my Underlab scientists Crystal Sleet, Nicholas Dux, Armin Arlett, Marisa Ray, Corey Kidwell, Yushio Koroni, Sarah Wydra and Emily Gatewood. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out the Patreon link below, as well as the video that explains why I'd so massively appreciate your contribution.